Hello everyone and welcome to Twitch Tales, episode 75 of the running total. In last week's episode, Apis had met an Eladrin, a denizen of the Feywild, somewhat like elven-like, but even more so to the point where they're very fey and their skin and clothing is mercurial and able to shift and change to the seasons around them and such, longer ears and slightly more inherent magics and a little bit more tricksy, mischievous attitudes perhaps. Apis had met an Eladrin called Dale and stayed with them and gotten some food from them, gotten a gift from them of a wooden box, a well-carved wooden jewellery box that was to be gifted to the Merry Gentleman as a thank you of having them in their home, I suppose. And Dale set off with Apis to lead them to the water's edge. They got to the shore. They showed Apis the ocean. First time we believe that Apis has actually seen the ocean. And then pointed across the way to the shore of the next island over, where they explained that that is where Lord Ordval, or Lord of Avalon, the Merry Gentleman, lives. And if you wish to see him, you need to cross this water. In order to cross this water, one of the easiest ways to do, though the not exactly pleasant ways to do it, is to engage in some sort of intellectual discourse down here on the water's edge. So Apis and Dale had a game of 20 questions that was very engaging, and in doing so they attracted the attention of a creature that lives here in the Feywild that is attracted to and feeds on brainwaves. This brainfish, as it is colloquially known, arrived at the shore and breached the waters and then charmed Apis, asked them some riddles, and in Apis answering these riddles correctly, it attracted the brainfish. They knew that, oh, this person's got a decent brain that I could chew on, and they tried to swallow Apis whole. Thankfully, Dale slapped Apis out of the charm effect and made them realize, oh, this giant anglerfish type creature is trying to eat you. While ever it thinks you're still charmed by it, it won't be able to digest you, but it will try to do so. And so you can get inside of its belly, inside of its digestive system, where it will try and digest your brainwaves, and then you can give it some riddles to challenge it right back again. And in doing so, you can kind of take control of it and use it like a submarine to traverse the short ocean distance between here and the next island over. He said it should take around about a half an hour journey or so. He did warn, though, that if you are unable to provide decent riddles for this brainfish, if you are unable to entertain it, then it will be bored of you. It will dismiss you as unworthy of being digested, not having good enough brain waves for it, and it will regurgitate you right there in the middle of the water. And you don't want to drown in the middle of the ocean. It wouldn't be a fitting end to Apis' story. So I suggest you entertain this brainfish with your riddles. So as we end off, Apis is in the digestive system of a fey creature, a submarine fey creature, and you are being constricted on all sides by this fleshy sack, and these sort of digestive juices are just sort of marinating over your skin, not actually burning away, no acids, because it seems to digest through psychic means. You are inside the brainfish, and it is now diving down beneath the waters to retreat back to its lair and digest you. On the way, as it dives, what do you do? What do you ask it to try? What riddles do you ask it telepathically to try and take control of it? It needs to be something that is going to be interesting and challenging. A good, well formulated riddle. So, I gave you homework last week to come up with some of these riddles. Let's start hearing them. Maybe, actually, thinking about it, because it is, we're going to get 100 people all just shouting riddles at me, and I'm going to have a hard time finding the answers to them. I think I'll do the Nightbot giveaway thing, and I will choose somebody. So if you have a riddle, ready to go and you want to be in with a chance to use your riddle in this story, then in a moment you can type into the chat the keyword !riddle. Enter !riddle into the chat if you have a riddle that you want to use. Do not put your answers in the chat. You have to entertain the fish. I am the fish. I am the fish, but I'm also not as smart as this fish. This fish is a brain fish and spends all of its days devouring people's brains. Sentient life. It swims around looking for tritons and sahuagin and sea goblins and whatever else lives in the oceans. Anything that gets too close to the shore, eladrin and any fey creatures. It charms them, it asks them riddles, and if they prove worthy, it eats them up and devours their brain and enjoys their brain waves. It thinks about riddles all day, every day. And I don't. So, unlike me, it is better at riddles. So, I will be trying my best as Robert to answer these riddles, but I will also supplement it with an intelligence check to see how quickly the fish can get to the riddle. Alright, you've had enough time, ! riddle. Let's see who's the first riddle is. We're going with ice cream. Ice cream 729. What is the first riddle that Apis gives to the brain fish? My twin lives at the reverse of my house number. The difference between our house numbers ends in 2. Ooh, it is a maths riddle. Apis thinks down as they can feel the depth pushing in, the pressure of the water getting stronger as the fish descends through the waters. My twin lives at the reverse of my house number. The difference between our house numbers ends in 2. What are the lowest possible numbers of our house numbers? Interesting. Alright. Now, let's have a think about this. So, the difference between our house numbers ends in 2. What are the lowest possibles? We're looking at a 2-digit number. The difference between them ends in 2, which means there must be a difference of 2 between the first and second number. So, 13 and 31, for instance. What is the lowest possible number combination of our numbers? 13 and 31. Are we looking at zeros as well? Are we looking at leading zeros? Because if we're looking at a leading 0, then we could have 0, 1 and 0, 3. 0, 1 and 1, 0, but that's a difference of 9. That doesn't work. So 0, 1, and so 0 and it would have to be 0 and 2. So the difference between them would be 18. That doesn't work. Zero. So we'd need something that has a difference of 2, but it's not insufficient because then. So there needs to be a higher number in the second place. The first number. Let me think here. Interesting. No leading zeros. Okay, we'll get rid of the leading zeros as an option. So what does it mean? It means that when you've flipped it around, not palindrome. Palindrome is where it reads backwards. Ambigram style. When you flip it around, flip the number around, the difference between them ends in a 2. So subtract one from the other, the absolute value of the difference between them. Let's do this as algebra. xy and yx, because then we don't know which one's which. So the absolute value of xy minus yx is equal to z2. So minus, so we've got y minus x plus 10x minus 10y is equal to z2. This isn't going to account for that, so y minus x is equal to 2. There's not enough information to get all of the numbers, but we don't need all of the numbers, we just need to know the minimum. Any number above 3, and we're going to get a number above 30. What's the lowest possible combination? Here's the question. Lowest possible numbers. Lowest possible numbers. Keep coming back to 1331. Because if we don't have a leading 0, then the lowest number that I can put in the first position is a 1. It has to be a difference of 2. An 11 wouldn't have a difference of 2. A 12 wouldn't have a difference of 2. 12 and 21 would have a difference of 9. 31 and 13 would have a difference of, let me just double check that, 21 minus 3, that's 20. Oh, that's the difference of 8 there. I was mistaken myself, because I think I was doing the 1 the wrong way around. So it can't be 13. I could just do this brute force. (41, 14) couldn't work. Why did I not get the 31, 13 before? We'll get there. We'll get there. I'm gonna brute force it. It's because I need 2 off of this one, which would be a 9. So 91, 19 would work. 91, 19. I think from looking from how I feel about how this would do, I think the brainfish would get this would keep them busy for. I'm going to roll a. I'm going to. Okay. So the brainfish got a 24 on the intelligence check. So I think the brainfish gets this much quicker than I would have, and it keeps them busy for. I'm going to give it 1d4 minutes. 4. All right. So this riddle keeps the brainfish busy for 4 minutes, and then they get the answer, which Rob thinks is likely to be 19 and 91. But I have a feeling like there's something in the middle somewhere that might work, like 45 and 54 or something like that. Which together might combine to less of a total. What's the answer? Ice cream. Lowest possible numbers are 91 and 19. There you go. Bing, 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 bing. Rob got it right. The fish got it right. 4 minutes. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Ice cream. You've kept the fish busy for 4 minutes. So as you give this riddle, Apis, you feel this. This pressure of the outside water pushing in on the exterior of the fish, and then you feel it suddenly shift. Your body kind of swirls to the side, and you kind of feel this G-force as the fish kind of turns, and it starts to get a little. It concentrates on your riddle instead of on its directions, and in that moment you feel this sense of connection. It's painful in a way, because it feels like the brainwaves are actually being eaten, like as you're having the thoughts, they're being pulled from your head faster than you can quite think them. Like there's something else that's trying to think your thoughts. But at the same time, that makes like this connection that you can't really describe, but you can feel this connection from your brainwaves to it as it is trying to absorb them, and you realize that you can utilize that connection as it is now focused on your riddle. For those 4 minutes, you can start to control it. So you start to think in the direction of the island. You don't know the direction from where you are now, but you think of the island as you saw it from the shore, and you think of going to that island. Apis, you're going to need to make an intelligence check. You're going to try and direct and control this fish, and if you do poorly, then your connection isn't that strong, and it's going to take longer than 30 minutes to get across there. Sorry. Almost rolled that without showing you on the camera. It's an Apis roll, so you get to see it. Alright, 16. 16 plus 3 for intelligence is a 19. You definitely get control of this fish for those first 4 minutes, and you start to move them that way. Alright, just a reminder, if you want to be in with a chance to control this fish and to give them a riddle that can keep them busy for a while, !riddle in the chat. Let's roll the next person. Riddle. After those 4 minutes comes through and you feel the fish go 91 and 19, suddenly, whoop, we need a new riddle, and you feel this lurch as the fish is now taking control again and is starting to descend. I can make you laugh or make you cry. I can be old and new, truth or lie. Pick me up or pass me on, for if you don't, I might be gone. What am I? Oof, this fish immediately starts to slow down again its descent, and you feel it starting to lurch in the direction of where you want it to be. Let's see how long this fish is going to take to work this out. I can make you laugh or make you cry. Make you laugh or make you cry. A clown. I can be old and new. Truth and lie. Old and new. Made me think of a book for some reason. Make you laugh. A book would work. Make you laugh or make you cry. Old and new, truth and lie. Pick me up or pass me on. That could work for a book. For if you don't, I might be gone. Not sure that works for a book. I can make you laugh or make you cry. I can be old and new, truth or lie. These all work for a book. Pick me up or pass me on. For if you don't, I might be gone. Pick me up. Pick me up, pass me on. I suppose books deteriorate with age, don't they? So if you don't pick it up and you don't pass it on, then it can be gone. It can be destroyed with age. I kind of like that. Alright, I'm going to roll an intelligence check for the fish to see how quickly it works it out. We got a 17 there for the fish. 17. I think he's doing about as well as I am with this one. I am going to say... I'm going to say a book. Is it a book? I think a book fits with that. It's not a book. Alright, so we're going to add on a minute to the solution then. What could it be? I feel like a book works though. What was my original thing? A jester, a joker, a clown. Pick me up and pass me on doesn't work for a person. A clown, a jester, a joke. A joke? Maybe just a joke, like a concept of... A joke don't really make you cry. A joke. An anecdote. A show, a theatre piece, performance. You can't pick up a performance really. I feel like maybe the fish gets... You're close. Am I close? The fish implodes and Apis dies, yeah. I think the fish might know this more than I do. I'm not sure. I think I'm going around in circles with a lot of this stuff. I keep coming back to a book. A story. A story? I can make you laugh and make you cry. Pick me up and you pick up a story? You pick up a story, but like more in a physical manner of picking it up in a book. Pass me on. if you don't pick up a story, it might be. I mean, if you don't pick up in metaphorical sense, if you don't pick up on a story, like, and pass it on. If somebody tells you a story and you don't pick it up and make it your own, then the story might be gone. It's kind of metaphorical. I prefer a book, but maybe a story works. I'll go with story. Correct. Yeah, boy. All right. So we'll add on 1 for the incorrect guess, and I think maybe I'm just gonna go 1d3. Where's my 1d3? I'm gonna grab my d3 out. 1d3 minutes that this keeps the fish occupied for, plus 1 for getting an incorrect guess. And that's how many minutes it is going to be occupied for. There's my d3. It's a d6 looking thing, but it's only labelled 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We got a 2. A 2, so it keeps him busy for 3 minutes. The fish did roll lower on this riddle than the last one. This isn't an exact science. I feel like the riddle was not as challenging as the last one, from just my own point of view. It still rolled high enough that it was doing well on it, just not as high as the last. I'm going with, so it's taken 4 minutes, and then it's taken another 3, so it's taken 7 minutes of our journey right now. Eventually, yeah, you pick up a story where you left off, yeah. Very good. All right. We are going to feel the motion as the fish kind of lurches correct in its guess, and then realizes, like, I've been doing riddles. I'm meant to be giving him riddles, giving them riddles. We're going to make an intelligence check for Apis to see how well you managed to control this fish during those 3 minutes that it was navigating, and also in the sense of, like, how well you can retake control once it lurches and starts to try and give you riddles again. All right, that's a 3. Not the greatest one this time. You do have inspiration if you want to re-roll that. Do you want to re-roll with an inspiration? Yes or no? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, a few people saying yes. We're going to use our inspiration to re-roll that. Ooh, a few people saying no. Interesting. Might not be exactly down the middle here. Is this the check that makes it start digesting us again? Kind of, Sparrow. It's not exactly. Like, it won't just be a single check and, like, you either fail or lose. Like, this is saying, do you really make a lot of progress during that 3 minutes? And at the end of that 3 minutes, do I give you a riddle or do you give me one back? We should re-roll because we're 23 minutes off the shot. That's a very good point. Let's go to polls. Re-roll with inspiration. With 57%, Apis decides, yes, we're going to re-roll with inspiration there. So we use up our inspiration. And we're going to re-roll that 3 to see if we can get a stronger start on the journey to the next shore. 8. 8 is better than 3, and with your plus 3 intelligence, because Apis is a very book-smart person, that takes us above average just to an 11. So with an above average one, you are making progress. It's relatively low DC at this stage. You are continuing for the full 7 minutes, like, in the direction of the other shore, and making good progress. And at the end of that, it was you had sufficient control over your own mind to maintain that connection and maintain your side of that connection. You can kind of think of it as this connection between the two brains now is like a pipe filled with water. And there's a pump on both ends of this pipe trying to be the one that's flowing brainwaves in one direction and not the other. And at any time, if the riddles aren't strong enough or they're achieved too quickly, it can switch the pump the other way, and suddenly the brainfish can take control again. But for now, you are still in control. So we will go back to the Nightbot giveaway and roll the next person. Mesmerized by law. Mesmerized by law, please type out your riddle for the brainfish as you are continuing your journey across the waves. Ooh, look at this, a nice big meaty one. As the fish lurches again, you realise that it's gotten the correct answer, and Apis quickly says, a mage has invented a way to close and open stable portals using a magic crystal pyramid, being turned up to open it and down to close it. He experiments in a big tower's basement, placing the experimental portals on its floors. A wizard's apprentice, who doesn't know yet how to cast spells, now has a task to match 200 pyramids in the basement with 200 portals on its floors, as the mage has accidentally burned the documentation. Descent to the basement is long and unpleasant, and it's prohibited to take pyramids out of the basement. What would be the minimum number of trips to the basement to fulfill the mapping task? And then you arrive at the shore, because it took half an hour to read the riddle. Alright. Let me understand the riddle first. The mage has invented a way to open stable, always in the same place, portals. There's a magic crystal pyramid. You turn it upwards to open the portal, downwards to close the portal. Experiments in a big tower's basement. All of your experimental portals are on the floors of the basement. 200 pyramids in the basement have 200 portals on the floors. You can't take the pyramids out of the basement. What's the minimum number of trips to the basement to fulfill the mapping task? I don't understand the riddle, I'm afraid. Can I get any clarification here? Could we just make our riddles really long to communicate and we win? What? The basement and the portals, the pyramids and the portals are both in the basement. You said task to match 200 pyramids in the basement with 200 portals on its floors, the floors of the basement. So why would there be any journey at all? They're both in the basement. Elevator and codes for each floor. The portals are on the 200 floors. Oh, 200 floors of the tower. Okay. So, right, so in the basement, I need to be able to turn... I'm down in the basement and I have to turn the portals on and off to see how many... to see which ones are which... portals. Ooh, okay. I think I understand it. Okay. Think of it like switches in the basement and lights on the house floors. So if I have a tower that's 200 stories tall, all of the light switches are in the basement because the electrician was really lazy. And I have to flick on and off. Obviously, I could do 200 times. I could click the first one and then go through all 200 floors to see which light switch it is. And I could click the second one and do the same. And eventually map out all of them. But what's the minimum number of journeys I could use? Jeez, this is an interesting one. So obviously with riddles like this, you want to start without 200 and then extrapolate. So you start with like 1. If there was just one switch and one thing, you'd only need one. Well, you'd need 0 journeys because you'd know that switch controls that portal. If there were 2 of them, you'd only need 1 journey because you can flick one of them on and see which one's on, and then you can extrapolate that the other one is not that one. If you've got 3 switches, how many journeys is it going to take? Could you do it in... You could definitely do it in two journeys because you could go the first one, the second one, and then extrapolate the third. Could you do it in 1 journey? If you flick on 2 of the switches, if you turn on 2 of the pyramids, you're going to learn which one's the off, but you're not going to learn which ones are the ons. So you can't do it in 1 journey, I don't think. Unless... And there used to be a riddle that I liked that used incandescent bulbs, and it's less applicable these days because we use LEDs for a lot of things and fluorescents that don't generate a lot of heat. But you used to flick on one of the incandescent bulbs and wait like 2 minutes for it to heat up, and then you flick that one off and flick the next one on and go into the room. And if the light's on, it's the middle switch. If it's off and cold, it's the third switch. And if it's off and hot, then it's the first switch. So there's other information you can learn from that. But I haven't learned anything from the portals that would, in the setup to the question, there's nothing that tells me that there's anything other than switching it on and off for the portals. So there's only binary information that I can get from the binary switches. So I could think of this as a binary code, like how many codes, how many binary numbers does it take to, how many binary combinations does it take to have 200 bits of information? Which would be 256, which is 2 to the 8. So 8 bits of information. So does that make sense? 8 bits of information. So I want to say 8. I want to say 8 as an answer because you could arrange the choices of switches in such a way that you could turn however many of them on at once and go up and check which numbers are on, and then change them again in a binary fashion and go up and check which ones are on, and that would tell you multiples of which ones are on and off. That would give you areas of information. That would give you clumps of information. And if you do that 8 times, then you've done 8 binary pieces of information, which is 256 bits of information, which should be enough to give you 200 floors, I think. I'm going to go with 2. I'm going to go with 8 trips. Is it 8 trips? Mesmerized by law? Now, the fish. How does the fish do with this one? It is correct. Oh, the fish doesn't do too well with this one. Doesn't understand binary, maybe. Or doesn't think of binary. The fish got a 14. So I'm going to say that this takes the fish a D6... a D8. I'm going to say that this takes the fish a D8 minutes. 1 D8 minutes. Or, no, actually, I'm going to say the 2D4. Because then you can't get a 1. With a 14. 14 is still above average. I'm going to give it a single D8 minutes. Here we go. 5. Alright, it took the fish 5 minutes to work that out. In the meantime, while the fish is doing that, 5 takes it to 12. Alright, in the meantime, back to the dice cam. Apis, how long does it take you? Oh, not how long, but how well do you do at keeping the control? That is a 17 total. You definitely keep control of the fish during that full 5 minutes. You're doing pretty well. You have 12 minutes of progress across the shore, and you've gone pretty much beeline there. You have steered this fish into the the ocean, the wide open ocean between these two islands. I'm going to roll the next person. Mythical Turian, start thinking about your typing out your riddle if you haven't already. So as Apis has got the 5 minutes to think as they've set this riddle, and then they've set this riddle and then taken control of the fish as it's taken control of the momentary lapse in concentration of the fish to force their own brainwaves upon the fish's brain and essentially steer the fish from the inside. Again, Apis doesn't know where they're going. They're just thinking of the island, thinking of the fish being sent towards that island, and hoping to dear God that Dale isn't a more malicious fae that has just put you inside a fish for a joke and you're actually just steering out into the ocean. As it starts to get towards the end, though, you realise that you can sense its brainwaves, so you can sense that its train of thought is starting to go into the binary digits and starting to work out what the logical solution to the answer would be. And you start to think, oh crap, I'm running out of time, another question, another riddle. As soon as it goes, eight trips and starts to take control again, you give it the next one. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I? Speak without a mouth makes me think of like the wind or something, or songs. Hear without ears. I hear without ears. I have no body. I have no body. Hear. What hears? Echoes. Echoes hear because they respond. Speak without a mouth is an echo. Hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. The wind? The wind? Does the wind echo? Does sound travel on the wind? Echo kind of works, but not always. I speak without a mouth. That would definitely work for an echo. I hear without ears. So a cave, obviously echoing back to you, is hearing you in order to respond to you. I have no body. Echoes. I come alive with the wind. Doesn't really work with an echo though. I come alive with the wind. Come alive with the wind. Something that moves in the wind. A weather vane. A weather vane. Speak without a mouth. Only if you're really stretching it. I speak without a mouth. I speak you the directions of which direction the weather's going now. Hear without ears. Hear. What does it mean to hear something? To be able to react to sound. What's this one gonna be? No body, but I come alive with the wind. I come alive with the wind. Trees? Trees move in the wind. Trees don't have anything to do with sound or hearing or mouth. Clouds? Clouds move in the wind. Come alive in the wind. Clouds would have a body though. I have no body. Clouds would. I don't think they've got anything to do with hearing. Let's see how well the fish is doing at this. See if he's doing better than me. 17. 17 is pretty good. I feel like the fish is probably doing better at this than me then. I'm going to say an echo. Doesn't fully work with the live with the wind, but kind of fits with the rest. Correct! An echo is correct. Okay, cool. So he got it pretty quickly. I think the fish got it sooner than I would have as well. So that's going to be a D3. A D3 minutes. Only one. The brainfish apparently gets this pretty quickly. So 13 minutes have passed. And because the brainfish got that one pretty quickly, the DC has gone up slightly for you continuing to take control of this fish. Sorry, I've rolled that and didn't turn the dice cam on. It's this one here. 11. 11 plus 3, 14. 14 was now the DC. So you actually just keep control of the fish for this minute. As you give it this riddle about the echo, you feel like you've bought yourself a few minutes to think of the next riddle. But very quickly you can feel the brainwaves of the fish going in that direction, thinking about the sounds that echo off of walls and speaking without body and oh god, oh god, oh god, oh shit, it's gonna get there. And just as it shouts an echo into your mind, Centauri, it's up to you to save Apis with the next riddle. My father and mother gave me up for dead, but a loyal kinswoman wrapped and protected me, and I killed all her children, but she still loved me and fed me until I rose above the dwelling houses of men, and so left her. What am I? Ooh. Props for a beautiful riddle there, Centauri. Even without working out what it is, that's some poetic shit there. My father and mother gave me... My first thought is a cuckoo. My father and mother left me up for dead. A loyal kinswoman wrapped and protected me. I'm thinking that wrapped and protected was making me think of an egg. I killed all of the children is kind of how cuckoos work. They get placed into other birds' nests and then they kill all the other birds, and the mama bird still looks after the cuckoo baby. even though the parents of the cuckoo baby have left it for dead. Doesn't exactly fit, because the cuckoo parents aren't leaving it for dead, they're leaving it to be raised by another bird, but I still loved and fed me until I rose above the dwelling houses of men. So like flying, and I left the nest and flew the nest. So it still kind of works. A cuckoo kind of works for all of this. So I'm thinking my first thought might be the right thought here. No props to you. It was stolen from my favourite book. Well, there you go then. My father and mother gave me up for dead. A loyal kinswoman wrapped and protected me. What else could it be? Get your first conceptions out of the head. Put that aside. We've got cuckoo. You can stop thinking of cuckoo, Rob. Put that over there. Think of something else. Father and mother left me up for dead. What could it be? Something that births you, gives you for dead. So something like waste product, maybe. Well, kinswoman wrapped and protected you. So someone that comes along and wraps something that is thrown aside as waste. So like dung and a dung beetle wrapping, protecting dung. I killed all of her children. Sounds like some kind of a parasite. Parasite that comes in dung of some kind. Waste products. Still loved me and fed me. Something that is, so you're being nurtured, given nutrients, given life, given fuel for the flame. Flames? An ember? An ember is ejected from the fire, left for dead. Wrapped and protected, so if you land in like kindling, you wrapped and protected, maybe not. Killed all of her children, so burning the kindling that you've landed in. Loved me and fed me, feeding the fire, until I rose above the dwelling houses of men. Burned the house down, and left her, again like, are you leaving the house if you're burning the house down? Another ember sparks from this fire and onto the next. Kind of works a little bit, but I have to kind of do a little mental gymnastics to make it work. I like cuckoo. I like my first thought, to be honest. The kinswoman doesn't wrap the cuckoo, the father and mother do. They're the ones who put it in the egg. If the egg is the wrapping. Maybe the nest is the wrapping. Wrapped and protected me. Swaddled, swathed, protected. I'm going to go with cuckoo first, just so I can get it out of my head. Centauri, was it a cuckoo? Tis a cuckoo! Yes! Fuck, I'm nailing this today. Alright, well, I got it pretty quickly. Let's see how fast the brainfish gets it. 14 plus 7, that's a 21. The brainfish also gets it pretty quickly. I'm going to say that, unfortunately for you guys, it's only a D3 again. And that's just a 1. That is just a 1 again. That is 1 minute. That very well formulated riddle only takes the brainfish 1 minute to work it out. You got it quick, but spent forever faffing. Yeah, I think the brainfish does better than I do in just like going with its gut. Brainfish is familiar with Old English riddles. Apparently, yeah. Alright, so Apis, let's see how well you are doing at keeping control of the fish during that 1 minute. 16 plus 3, 19, thankfully, as I said before. It took just a short time for the brainfish to get it, which means that the DC was slightly higher for Apis to keep control, but you've been rolling well. With the exception of that one we had to re-roll with inspiration, Apis has been rolling really, really well on maintaining control of the brainfish. You're now 14 minutes into the journey. 14 minutes. You're about halfway across the ocean. You do not want to get ejected from the brainfish right now. So, as the brainfish gets the solution, the correct answer, Creative Garden, you are up. What is the next riddle that we give to the fish? Going with its apis-filled gut. Yeah, nice. The ember would have worked, going up in smoke, rising over the houses of the hit city. Yeah. How about we tell them a riddle in a different language than common? Probably speak it, but maybe more than interesting. Yeah, maybe. Left to myself, I have no up or down. Put me right to work, my bones find solid ground. Many faces stare at me, elated or crushed by what they see. You'll know what to do when you see me fall. If you don't pick me up, you've got no chance at all. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, very poetic. Left to myself, so there's a left and a right in there. Left to myself, I have no up or down. So a ball, a sphere, maybe. A globe. Space, anything in space has no up or down. Left to myself, left to myself, something with a left and a right, but no up or down. So we've got left, up and down and right. Have we got a top and bottom in here? Top and bottom, no. Top and bottom, there's no top and bottom. Left, right, up and down. So a compass, maybe? Compass doesn't have an up and a down to itself. Left, right, up and down. A rosette, what are they called? The compass thing, the compass wheel in the middle of, in the corner of a map. There's a name for those things, I think. Left to myself, I have no up or down. Put me right to work. So put me right, so if you put me right up, maybe right side up, or if you right me. My bones find solid ground. My bones find bones like the dice, bone dice. Bones find solid ground. Many faces stare at me, like clock faces, faces of a dice. Many faces stare at me, elated or crushed by what they see. This kind of works for the bone dice. Left to myself, I have no up or down. Bone dice don't have an up or down. Put me right to work, my bones find solid ground. Many faces stare at me, elated or crushed by what they see. Definitely with the wheel and woe there. You'll know what to do when you see me fall, because this is to do with divination of the augury spell. If you don't pick me up, you've got no chance at a chance. Dice. Chance. The luck. Dice cubes. Yeah, chance cubes. If you don't pick me up, you've got no chance at all. This kind of works for the bone dice. Apis' bone dice. Left to myself, I have no up or down. Put me right to work. My bones find solid ground. Many faces stare at me, elated or crushed by what they see. Faces of the dice. They'd be staring out, but I suppose other people looking at. Yeah. You know what to do when you see me fall. You don't pick me up, you've got no chance at all. I'm going to go with the bone dice. See if I can get that out of my head. Any kind of dice was the answer, but bone dice works. There you go. Fuck, I'm a genius, guys. I'm a fucking genius. I'm really humble and modest too, aren't I? I'm a super genius. Modest, and I'm going to actually give this bone I'm going to actually give the fish. Do I give it disadvantage? Because he said any dice would work. Would any dice work? My bones find solid ground. Many fish stare at me, elated or crushed. You'll know what to do when you see me fall. Okay, yeah, no, it would work for any dice, I guess. So I will. Yeah, the fish would have just answered dice, and there you go. So it only got a 12 on its check, so I think this one stumps the fish for a little bit longer than the others. With only a 12, I'm going to give it a d6 minutes. It's going to be a d6 minutes of being a little bit stumped by this. That's not bad. That's 3. So we are now at 17 minutes across the way with this fish. We're getting pretty good. We're closer to the other shore than we were to setting off, at the very least. But do we manage to keep control of this fish during those 3 minutes? The DC's gone down again a little bit because 3 minutes is a decent chunk of time. 11 plus 3. It's a good thing that Apis put their highest modifier into intelligence, despite intelligence not being the ranger's best stat usually. We decided that we were going to be a very book-smart ranger when we first created Apis, and it's paying off now. With a 14, we managed to keep control of the fish for that 3 minutes. Nice and easy. I'm liking these riddles. Well done, everybody. All right. Let me get this right. Zlaziember. Nailed it. Zlaziember. Zlaziember. Or lazy ember. XX lazy ember. How's it going? We got there. What's your riddle? As Apis realizes that this fish is kind of lurching and the rhythm of the swimming through the water is starting to get a little more back to its own consciousness. It's no longer swimming on autopilot as you are controlling it towards the island that you need to go to. It's starting to get closer to thinking about dice, thinking about chance cubes, thinking about games of chance and the dice faces falling. It touches on dice, and suddenly we're in need of another riddle. Laziember says, what has 2 legs, is alive, and has no hope? 2 legs, is alive, and has no hope. I feel like the fish is not going to enjoy this riddle. Interestingly, it could be Apis. Apis has 2 legs. Apis is currently alive. Apis has hope of getting out of this, but you are currently in the middle of the 2 different islands, underwater, in the belly of a fish. I am going to go with my gut and say Apis. The fish says, "You." Is that correct? I'd say we have hope. Maybe, but I don't think the fish knows that you have hope or thinks that you have hope. You. Close, but no. Apis does have hope. Okay. I'll add you a minute on to that. Two legs, is alive, and has no hope. This is so little to go on. I'm not sure. I feel like I could just start stabbing in the dark. No hope. What does it mean to have no hope? Despair. Pair of legs. Despair of legs. I'm not sure. I'm just going to have to roll for this one, I think. What does the fish think? That is a 25. I think the fish might have heard this one before. 25 intelligence check. I think Robert gives up, but the fish... We'll see if the fish gets it, given once I get what the answer is. A depressed person. The fish... It does occupy the fish for some time, but it comes with a cost. The fish is going to be occupied for... Where's my other d6? 2d6 minutes. And after 7 minutes... The fish is tangibly angry, because that is not a riddle. That was at best a question. The fish gets angry and starts to swim violently downwards, and it takes control. You start to feel a pressing weight in your mind, a pain in the back of your head. Apis, I need you to make an intelligence saving throw. Thankfully for you, that was a 19. So you're not going to suffer the secondary effects. But you are going to suffer... Oh shit, 2 6s as well. 14 points of psychic damage. 14 off of 61 makes 47. It kept the fish occupied for some time. But once it realized that the answer was not a satisfying riddle, it takes control violently. The pump on the other end of this pipe suddenly gets pressurized more than yours, and brainwaves start to sink into your brain. You do not suffer the secondary effect, thankfully, so you are not recharmed by the fish. But it does now have control. Apis, the more of it there is, the less of it you see. What is it? Darkness. You feel this slight abatement of its anger towards you. I take away from it, and yet there ends up with more. What is it? A hole. You feel another slight abatement in the anger that this fish feels. I have an eye, but I cannot see. What am I? A needle. You feel this fish go back to a state of placidity. It is calmer. It's back to enjoying the game. Apis, back to you. Cake ladder, you're up. You feel like you've plunged deeper into the ocean depths with that last one, adding to your total time needed to get across the journey. Going to take a risk now, Cake ladder says. We all know how much we love risks here. No pressure, but if you get it wrong, we probably die. If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Interesting. Dies. I hope Mel can still find the way. You guys can re-roll as Mel when Apis is dead. The answer comes immediately. There is always sound in the forest. Apis, you're going to have to argue your point as to why this was more of a riddle than a question. If you can argue this into some kind of a paradox and keep the fish entertained in that way, if you can keep this fish engaged in any kind of brain capacity, then you're achieving your goal. You have to keep it entertained, you have to keep it engaged, you have to keep it from concentrating on where it's going so that you can concentrate on pushing it in the direction you want it to go. But if you can't argue your point, the fish takes control and it gets bored of you. You don't want the fish to get bored of you. What is sound but an experience? And if there is no one to have the experience, is there sound? Perception is reality. How is anything unperceived real? The question wasn't, is there a sound, but does the tree make a sound? And if there is no one to hear it, then is it making a sound or just creating sound waves? I think your argument would fly on the material plane. But on the Feywild, a realm of magic, a realm where the trees themselves are alive and able to hear, where the wind itself can hear your music and play with you, as Apis has directly discovered themselves only in the last 24 hours. When you played panpipes, the entire forest responded. Not just creatures, not just sentience, not just people able to perceive, but sound here has incredible power. Music here has incredible power. So here in the Feywild, that paradox is not a paradox at all. And as such, it's not a very entertaining question. The fish starts to get bored of you. Now, unlike last time, when the fish got angry with you, this is a different method, a different thing that happens. You can survive the fish being angry with you a couple more times, based on how hardy you are. But being bored of you means that the fish has no desire to digest you anymore. Apis, you start to feel a churning in the gut around you as the fish starts to... You have a dexterity saving throw to make as you reach out and try and grab a hold of the interior of this fish. It is going to start trying to throw you up. That is a 2. With a 2 plus your dexterity. Matt, you have the last chance to give it an interesting enough riddle that it keeps you down. Because you can feel the digestive muscles of the walls of the stomach starting to push you up through the esophagus and into its mouth. You can start to smell the salt water, and you can start to feel the pressure as you are pushed up through into its throat, and Apis is getting squeezed into the mouth of this fish. We're told in halls by bards of old, multiple chronicles with heroes, villains, and gold. Some are watched with drinks and snack, but we are all the same from front to back. It holds you in its throat. And then you feel yourself forced back down into the gut. We are told in halls by bards of old, multiple chronicles with heroes, villains, and gold. Some are watched with drinks and snack, but we are all the same from front to back. I feel like this was a story again, like the other one, but in a different format, because this feels like stories being told in halls. Stories are chronicles with heroes, villains, and gold. Some stories are watched, but stories are always the same, like Hero with 1,000 Faces, no new stories under the sun. There's something like 7 archetypal stories or something, and they're all the same. This is an interesting one. It's interesting because I'm not sure what the riddle is asking for. You took a risk, Cake Ladder. It's just that I don't think in the Feywild, I don't think that paradox really is a paradox, given the nature of magic and sound here. Everything makes sound, and everything is there to hear it. The rocks and the trees and the air, everything in the Feywild is listening. What is the riddle? What is the nature of the riddle, Matt? We're told in halls by bards of old, multiple chronicles, heroes, villains, and gold. Watched with drinks and snack, all the same from front to back. What else could it be other than a story? What is it asking? Like, what are we? What are we? We are all the same from front to back. Chronicles, history, historical events. Some are watched with drinks and snacks. Theatres, maybe? Theatres. Oh, not theatres, but theatre plays. Performances. Performing arts. Told in halls by bards of old. Multiple chronicles, heroes, villains, and gold. Some are watched with drinks and snack. Plays. All the same from front to back. I'm gonna go with a play. Matt, is it a play? A theatre performance? It isn't a play? One more guess. The answer is a palindrome. Palindrome because they're the same from front to back. Okay, let's have a look at the fish's response here. 14, above average, but not by far. Okay, it's a palindrome. We're the same from front to back, which explains the palindrome thing now. Okay, but it's a word for something like a historical event or a play or a story. An epic, a poem, a what are some words for those things? I don't know. Let me think. Some words for historical events or stories or... Come on, Rob, you're a storyteller. Surely you know some more synonyms for stories. Epics. Novel. What did he get? A 14. I feel like this is going to stump him for a while. This is going to be like a D8, I think. I'm going to go with... What am I going to go with? If I just say something confidently, it'll come to me. The answer is definitely a... Let me read it again. God damn it, what was it? We are told in halls. So we are told in halls. So we, there's plural of them. So there's stories rather than a story. Multiple chronicles, so several chronicles. That's another word for a chronicle. A saga. Sagas. Sagas is a palindrome. Sagas, maybe. So a saga is told in halls by bards of old. Multiple chronicles, heroes, villains, and gold. Some are watched with drinks and snack. Sagas watched with drinks and snacks, I guess. Same from front to back. Sagas. Sagas. I'm going to go with that. The answer's in the chat, was it? Answer is we are sagas. I got it! Yeah, boy! Alright, nice. Okay, that definitely kept him stumped for a while, though, because with a 14 intelligence check, it wasn't the greatest, and I'm going to give you a D8 minutes for him to work this one out. You managed to get him back down, get Apis back down into the stomach of this fish. Entertain it for another 7 minutes. Takes him up to a total of 31 minutes. But you took a little detour in the middle there because he got angry with you. And so you have not sure exactly how far to go. But Apis, during that 7 minutes, how well did you do to keep control of the fish and direct it where you wanted it to go? Ooh, 6 plus 3. You were keeping it. You had it going for quite some time, which meant the DC was slightly lower. So 6 plus 3 is a 9. It is a struggle, but you do manage to keep a track of the fish's concentration, and you do manage to hold on to it and to steer it in the direction it needs to go. It is also giving you flashes of its own senses now. I'm going to roll an insight check. Or animal handling, let's see. I don't think this really counts as... No, this won't be close enough to animal handling. I'm just going to roll an insight check for you to see if you can read some of the thoughts of this brainfish as it swims. Alright, that is a 9. 9 plus your wisdom modifier of 2 is an 11. You are not proficient in insight, so that's as far as you can go with it. With an 11, it is hard to read exactly what's going through the mind of this fish, but you can definitely see the shore of this island approaching. Flashes of its sensations. You're definitely feeling the cold water rushing over its scaly skin. You can definitely feel the darkness underneath it of this depths of the water. You can definitely see this underwater shoreline approaching. So you know you're getting close to the island, just not sure exactly how close. You managed to keep a hold of the fish. I think one more should do it. Scones Tavern. What is the last riddle that you give to this fish to get it across, to get you across? A man arrives in town on Friday, stays for 2 days, and leaves on Friday. How? I'm going to adapt this slightly on your behalf, Scones, because Friday doesn't exist in my world. So any other day of the week, like Lunday, for instance. So you say a guy arrives in town on Lunday, stays for 2 days, and leaves on Lunday. How? Now, unfortunately, Scones, you suffer a similar problem to Cake Ladder. This riddle would work really well on the material plane, where days of the week are progressing as time would expect. But you've asked it of a fey creature on the Feywild. And here in the Feywild, the sun hangs in the sky. The planet is tidally locked to the sun. So days don't mean anything. Time doesn't pass. They do not use the same days of the week here in the Feywild as they do in the material plane. So here in the Feywild, if you arrived on a particular day of the week, you could spend many cycles here. You could spend months here. And you would leave on the same day of the week, because time has not passed. There is no night. There is no day. It is bored by your question. It means nothing to it. Just for clarity, I do know that one. Robert does know the answer to that. Is that the name of his horse is Friday, so he arrives on Friday and then he leaves on Friday. But the fish is not even interested in it at all. As the fish begins to regurgitate you back from the gut. Dexterity saving throw. The dexterity saving throw of Apis was an 8 plus 3 is an 11. 11 is not enough, so as you go careening up through its throat, Batmerp. We need a life-saving riddle thrown out there. Otherwise, you're going for a swim. Skip me. I realise mine is bad. All right. You are now through its throat and into the back of its mouth. Apis' mind going, you picked up a riddle and then went, no, not that one. And you've second guessed yourself, so you've lost yourself some time. Kelso, riddle, please. Save us. You are now in the mouth of this fish and you can feel the water against your skin. It is opening its mouth and letting water in and starting to actually throw you up. You saw me where I never was and where I could not be. And yet within that very place, my face you often see. Ooh, I like that. You've made it through his throat and into his mouth, so the fish does not now swallow you back down again. That's the nature of you failing the dex save and then also failing to come up with a riddle in the spur of the moment. So you are now in its mouth, meaning that if he gets bored by this or angry at its answer, that's it. No more dex saves, you're just out into the water. But he does stop, and he does close his mouth, this fish. Because he is intrigued by your riddle. You saw me where I never was, and where I could not be. And yet within that very place, my face you often see. A mirror. It's going to be a mirror. You saw me where I never was, so I wasn't in the mirror. And where I could not be, you can't be behind the mirror. And yet within that very place, my face you... It's going to be a mirror. The fish gives the answer a mirror. It's a nice rhyme, though. I like that riddle. The answer is not a mirror. Interesting. A mirror would definitely work for that. You saw me where I never was. You can't be in a mirror where I could not be. Okay, an extra minute added then, which might get you to the shore on its own. Close, very close. If it's very close, like a reflection or something, if it's just another word for it, essentially, a mirage, or saw me where I never was, where I could not be. Within that very place, my face you often see. If it's essentially a mirror, then I'm counting that as a win, and you don't get the extra 1 minute. Like if it's a puddle or a reflection in a lake or something, it's still a mirror. Somewhere where I never was, where I could not be, and yet within that very place, my face you often see. It's a reflection. Okay, yeah, mirror is the correct answer then. You saw me where I never was. You didn't see. You never were in the reflection. Where I could not be, you can't be in the reflection. Oh, you saw me where I never was. Yes, I suppose that does make sense, actually, because it's like you're saying, the riddle is saying that who am I? What am I? I am the reflection, not the mirror. You saw me in a mirror, within that very place, talking about the mirror, my face is the reflection. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Kelsa, and reflection definitely is the right answer here, not mirror. Yeah, I'll be kind. I definitely got it quickly, though, so it's going to only be a D3 minutes, but I'll give you the +1 for realizing whether it was which part of it I was meant to be focusing in on. So D3 +1. 1 + 1, so 2 minutes. 2 minutes takes you to 33 minutes total. If Apis can control this, fish for that last 2 minutes, 33 minutes is exactly what you needed to get to the shore. You just need to succeed on an intelligence check. Unfortunately, it was a relatively quick riddle for him to get, which means that the DC is 14. You have a +3 intelligence, so you need to roll an 11 or higher. And that is a 12. 12 or higher. 12 is 11 or higher. So, Apis, you managed to control this fish for the last leg of the journey, the last few minutes, as you are in its mouth, and you are about to get thrown up. You are basically having to find pockets of air to breathe, because now that it's got water in its mouth, it's almost drowning you. And then you feel this scraping as you're thinking desperately, go to shore, go to shore, go to shore, go to shore. There's this scraping, and then the fish kind of opens its mouth almost involuntarily, and water starts to spill out. And you just, without thinking, you just reach out, you grab the teeth, and you pull yourself through. I'm going to make a dexterity check to see if you cut yourself or scratch yourself on the teeth on your way out, because you are desperately trying to just get out of this fish. 9 plus your 3 from dexterity is a 12, so you'll take only half damage. Which is thankfully rolled poorly, so 3 halved, rounded up 2. You take 2 points of slashing damage on the teeth there, and you tumble out of the fish onto the front of the the lips, as it were, and tumble down from there onto the shore of the beach. You're panting and coughing and spluttering, and you hear immediately a bee coming over towards you from having flown across there nicely. She didn't have to go through any of this ordeal. We find Dale on the other side, who's like walks over and is like, "Why don't you take the bridge?" This Uber driver's getting a 1 star at best. As the fish is there on the shore, it seems to almost come to its consciousness, realizing like, what the hell? Where am I? What has happened? Why have I lost my meal? What do you want to do, Apis? You are prone in front of a gnashing, sharp-toothed brainfish that's half beached on the shore of this other island. Stand and leave, run, crawl up the beach, back away from it. Find Mel, scramble up the beach. All right. You start to turn over and scramble up the beach. It is going to take an attack of opportunity on you as you leave its melee range. With an 18, that is going to hit. So as you hit, where's my brainfish stats? Oh, it's not too much. I rolled the same again as when you scratched your way out of its mouth. So just 3 points of damage as it bites you as you leave. It does not manage to charm you again, because you are immune to it for the next little while after you were slapped out of it. It doesn't grapple with its bite now. It just kind of like bite. Like a piranha. I'm a piranha. I come from the Amazon. Name it. All right. So the brainfish bites you, but on land its speed is essentially 0. It's like half of its swimming speed, so it's not doing too well, as it could like shuffle up the water after you, but then it's in trouble. So it turns around and it flops until it gets back into the water and leaves. Find Nemo, yeah. So you have managed to get up off of the beach, out of the water, and onto the other island, and you look across at the setting sun, or the rising sun, as the case is actually in this part of the world. You just look across at the twilight sun and the beautiful colours across the sky, this crazy like greenish blue water, and right across to the other island that you came from, covered in gunk, and you look up to see Empress Mel come flying down to your shoulder, and she's followed by a humanoid man. You look across that direction and you see this man that can possibly be a half. Sorry, start that again. You look across to this man who can only possibly be a wood elf. He has a darker skin tone and long pointed ears. He has long hair, and he's got this these sort of outlander sort of clothing on, simple armors and leather straps, and he's got a bow and arrow, a sword by his hip, and he seems to be following Mel, as if they've met at some point in the time that she's been waiting for you to arrive. All right. You've scrambled up the beach. What do you want to do, Apis? It's over to you again. We cast Cure Wounds on ourselves. You can indeed. Thumbs up or thumbs down if you want to cast Cure Wounds on yourself. Have you got all your spell slots? Have you not used any spells today? No, I guess not. Because we just woke up and went down the beach with Dale. Yeah, I suppose not. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Cast Cure Wounds on ourselves. You have 4 level 1 spell slots and 2 level 2 spell slots. Alright, people saying yes, 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 we are going to use Cure Wounds. So are we going to use a first level Cure Wounds, which is 1d8 plus your Wisdom modifier, so 1d8 plus 2. Or are you going to use a second level Cure Wounds, which is 2d8 plus 2. Level 1, level 1, level 1, level 1. Looks like we're going to use level 1. So our second level slots for Misty stepping out of danger, use the first levels. Yep, makes sense. Alright. Level 1 it is then. Bling! With a, show you on the dice cam, with a d8 plus 2, 4. You get 6 hit points back. You go from 42 to 48. 48 out of 62. So you've still got some wounds. You could do it again if you wanted. Can we use a second wind if you want more heals? You could use a second wind if you want more heals as well. Second wind is down here. This let me get my dice cam back. My face cam back. Second wind is this button down here. You can see it there. It is a fighter ability. You do not have action surge yet because you're not a second level fighter yet in this memory space. But you do have second wind. That's a thing you get from first level fighter. It allows you to roll a d10 plus your constitution modifier once per short rest. It refreshes on a short rest. So thumbs up or thumbs down for using second wind to regain 1d10 plus 2. Anywhere between 3 and 12 hit points. Oh, yeah, no, sorry, you're right, Cake Ladder. It's not your constitution, it's your fighter level. So it's anywhere between 2 and 11 hit points. Yes, yes, yes. Overwhelming yes. So, with a second wind, Apis just sits on the beach, thinks, out of the frying pan into the fire here. We've got a fish has just vomited me up in a foreign place. I've got some stranger coming across to me with bow and arrow. Like, he could be hostile, could be a friend, I don't know. But in the Feywild, who the hell knows? Apis is riddled with doubt. And so it takes a second to just momentarily think of the oasis that you have seen. This flown and shale tree, beautiful berries growing up its gorgeous golden bark. These beautiful vines that intermingle with this almost woman-like form of this goddess in this tree, this goddess of healing, in front of this impossibly flat oasis of pristine water. And it just calms you. You just feel this calming meditation over you. And you regain dice cam on. That was a 5. 5 plus your fighter level, which is 1. You gain 6 spell slots, 6 hit points back, taking you to 54. 54 of 62 is still respectable. What's your name? You hear the gentleman call out to you from maybe 30 feet away or so. And he stops on the beach as the Empress Bee buzzes over to you. I go by Archer, you say, standing yourself up, dusting yourself off of the sand. You can call me Archer, and you can call her Empress. You're not from the Feywild. It's not a question. Nor am I. What are you doing here? He has his bow at his side, like it's not nocked and ready, but he has it in his hand, and his other hand is hovering near his quiver by his hip. So he could definitely, you get the impression he could definitely draw on you if he wanted to, pretty quickly. He holds himself and like somebody who knows how to use a bow. He's got quite strong upper body, and you can tell from the actual makeup of the bow and arrows as well. His quiver, they're well designed. He's used this bow and arrow for a long time, and they are well looked after. I return the question. What are you doing here? I'm seeking quarry. I'm seeking answers. I'm here to see the merry gentleman. Take me to him. I'm going to have an insight check. Nine plus your insight of 2. That's an 11. Luckily, you're a little bit better at reading elven facial expressions because you're more used to them from the material plane. You're still not. You didn't grow up around elves, so you're not as good at reading elves as you would be at reading dwarves. So it's not ideal, but 11's still average. You can definitely tell the following from his expression: shock and intrigue. His eyes go a little wider, and then you see his eyes start to dart a little bit as if he's thinking. And then you say, I was summoned by the Lord of Avalon. A few short seconds later he goes, firstly, you can stop with the demanding thing. I'm not a fae. You don't make demands of me. I'll take you to him if I want to take you to him. What is your purpose with him? I was summoned. I didn't ask that. I said, what's your purpose with him? Why do you want to know? I have business with him too. All my business is mine. Lead me to him or not, I'm going there now. No offense, but I don't know who you are, and so why should I be answering you? You want us to not make demands of you, but you keep making demanding answers of me. Seems unfair, no? I suppose it does. My apologies. You can call me Farangol. I'm a hunter. What do you hunt? He looks slowly up the beach. And slowly down the beach. He looks back at you, smiles and says, this place. His name is spelt Farangol. I'm going to see him so that he stops sending me annoying underlings to get me. Farangol smiles at that and says, the Archfey do be like that sometimes. Getting others to do their dirty work. I prefer to keep to the demands while I'm here, to be honest. I don't know you from a bar of soap, and for all I know you could be a fae in disguise. That is wise. You're a wise person, Archer. That will steer you well in this place. You said you're not from here. How did you get here? I'm a traveller. I've many ways of getting between this place and mine. Yours, presumably. I had a friend. She was from here. She knew ways of getting about that our kind usually aren't able to access. Did you ride a fish too? You gesture back at the fish, kind of still not enjoying the fact that you're still covered in, like, brain slime. Are you a Horizon Walker? Put a Oh, he has heard of them. No. Are you? You saw the thought process go through his mind of, no, I'm not a Horizon Walker. Wait, this guy's heard of Horizon Walkers? Why would this person have heard of Horizon? Holy shit, are they a Horizon Walker? And then he asks, are you? I've heard of people who can step between planes. Are you or your friend one of those? No, neither of us are. Where have you heard of them? You saw me get chucked up out of a fish. Do you think I'd do that if I could step between planes? Perhaps. I'm going to roll you a deception check. Because you're not actively lying to him. You haven't said anything incorrect, but you are trying to mislead him into thinking that you aren't a Horizon Walker. 3. Apis is so bad at lying. Apis is so bad at lying. It comes up so often that whenever Apis lies, it's just like, nope. It's like the panpipes. With a 4 total, you get the impression... Advantage, please? Just for no reason. You get the impression from his expression that he is going to take you at your word. That, like, fair enough, you're not a Horizon Walker, but that he lingers on you with his eyes. You're pretty sure you haven't convinced him that you're not. So, the merry gentleman. You know him as such as well. There's not a lot around here that know him by that name. Those on the council refer to him as such. But his denizens, his subjects, they refer to him by a number of different names. What is your relation to him? Is it a misnomer? Is he actually quite unhappy? Happiness is everything here. I don't believe he's unhappy. He's very happy with what he does. He does like his merriness, doesn't he? As much as his mysteries. Archfey are always mysterious, but the merry gentleman more so. He prides himself on being hard to read. Are there others that are happy with what he does? Some are, some aren't. With Fae and their naming conventions, am I right? Everything seems to be part of another game to them. Very much so. What do you know about him? I know a great deal about him. I've been studying him for some time. Well, he summoned me to him. There's no other relation there. Okay. I can take you to him. But to do so, I would need to know what your feeling towards him is. Are you fond of him? Does he give you things? Are you in his debt? Talk to me about how you know him and what you want from him before I decide whether to take you to him. Can I just say, before we get into that, as an archer, your bow looks impressive. You look after it. I do. Could I look at it? I would rather not. Not yet. Maybe once we get to know each other. Do you know his true name? No, I don't think anyone on the council even knows his true name. I'd be surprised if anyone but him knows his true name. True names are very important here in the Feywild, as I'm sure you're aware from your pseudonym. Aye. Well, I have questions that I want answered. I see. I'm quite nervous about this meeting. Is there anything you're willing to share? I might make up my mind on what my feelings towards him are. You'll have to forgive my couching my language here, but as you've mentioned, there are ways for the Fae to disguise themselves. I have a very strong feeling that you're not Fae. She is. He looks across to Mel. She is. I am. He said that in he said that last part in Sylvan, so she could understand. Yes, she has a sense about her. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Right, we were starting to suspect, maybe with the size of the creatures on this plane and the different shapes and colours, and yes. But you don't have that same aura about you. You don't have that same sense. I get the feeling that you're not Fae, but all the same, it doesn't mean that you're not working with them. So I'm going to have to be careful with what I tell you, in case, for my own safety, you're working with someone that I'd rather you didn't. Well, as far as I recall, I'm not in his debt. I have no ill will towards him, but I know he requires assistance that I can render. I did stumble into the Feywild when I was younger, and I don't remember that much of the trip. My opinion of him could be considered cautiously curious. I can work with cautiously curious. We should walk. It's a long journey. And he turns and starts walking up the beach towards the tree line and into the forest. Bits of this guy's language seem to imply he's not super team merry gentleman himself. That is something you're definitely picking up on. You only have a +2 in insight, which isn't great, but does mean you're above average at it. And from the conversation as it goes, the longer it goes, you get the impression that this guy is not team merry gentleman. I don't know this guy. We don't know who else is listening. If this is who I think it is, I'm pretty sure he doesn't like him at all. You made reference to the council. I've not heard of that. Can you tell me more? Yes, of course. That is something I can tell you because it's common knowledge here in this plane. The Feywild is run by a council of 12 arch-Fey. They're a little difficult to know too much about. They're a little mysterious, keep to themselves. But they've essentially divided the entire planet into 12 districts. Each of them runs one of those districts. The borders between them are fluid. There is crossover between their regions. The current district that you're in is called Avalon. The Lord of Avalon is the Merry Gentleman, Ordval, Kurapira, the One Who Watches, the Man in Green, the Fairy King, the Prince in the... He's got a lot of things, you know how this is. There are others on the council too. The Cold Lady. She runs a region in the wintered section of the planet. The night section. The Autumn Scent. He's in the autumn side of the planet. The Deep Beyond runs the ocean. The Fruity Fellow is another springtime archfey to the north of here. The Night Owl, another on the darkened side of the planet. And the Jester. I'm going to have another insight check. Ooh, you are walking and talking and not paying as much attention to his facial expressions. Are you associated with any one of those Fae? No. His answer comes pretty quickly. Can we rattle this in the margin of the book? Yeah, sure. You get out your imaginary book as you walk. It's hard to I'm going to actually... I'm going to roll a dexterity check for you because you're going to have to carry a book. You're going to have to get some kind of ink. You don't have ink on you, so you still have to buy some of that from someone probably. You don't have ink, but in the past you used like berry juice or some shit. While you were staying at Dale's, you probably just used his pot of ink for writing things in your book. But now you're walking and talking. In fact, I'm not even going to allow a check for it. The more I think about it, I think it just doesn't make sense for you to be able to write this as you walk without a pot of ink. Covered in fish slime, yeah, it doesn't exactly make Pokemon use blood. It is the Feywild after all. If you want to write the names of the Archfey in the margin of a book in your own blood in the Feywild, you be my guest. Nope, maybe not. Nope, when you put it like that, maybe not, nope. I'm pretty sure the Merry Gentleman can take care of himself in his base of power. Quite possibly. You obviously don't have love for the Fae. Why are you here? Wouldn't you go back home? My work isn't done here yet. It sounds like we should do it. What's the worst that could happen? Private thought of Apis to the other neurons. Are there reasons we shouldn't trust the Merry Gentleman? Is he not just good? Is he as fault for something? You would know, Ice Cream, that Fae in general don't really... it's not as easy to ascribe good and evil to them. They work in TV trope language in what's called blue-orange mentality, blue-orange ethics, or blue-orange morality. And if you look it up, you can see that blue-orange mentality or blue-orange morality is a way of explaining that, like, we can see things as black and white, good and evil, but blue and orange is like, which is better? I don't know. And that's kind of the whole point. It's to make you think, to sort of get you away from thinking of one is better than the other. They don't have the same morality system as we do, and so they're not really good or evil. They're Fae. They're different. They think in different ways. They have different culture, different expectations, different everything. And so it's an alien way of thinking, and saying that the Merry Gentleman is good or evil doesn't really make sense as a question. I'm trying to follow your story as best I can. Your friends had some trouble with the Merry Gentleman, and you're here to try and undo that trouble. My friend had no trouble with the Merry Gentleman. The two of us had trouble with another. What's this work that you need to finish? That's not something I'm willing to talk to a stranger about yet, Archer. As you walk, you start to notice that your feet are squelching just a little bit. The forest just off of the beach, the tree line and things, is relatively muddy and relatively wet. And you are walking into a bit of a waterlogged part of the forest. Do you mean another on the council? Yes. Where's your friend? With a 17 insight, you read into his silence that his friend is perhaps not around anymore, or captured, perhaps on another plane of existence, in some kind of trouble. You walk in relative silence for another few minutes. Does helping the Merry Gentleman cause more or less danger or hardship for the material world? It's hard to know. Merry Gentleman prides themselves on being a little mysterious, having plans upon plans, contingencies upon contingencies. You don't ever really know what they're doing or what they're planning. They are tricksy and manipulative and long-living, so they are willing to put plans into action now that won't come to fruition for 100 years at least. Forest bonus on that insight? There's no reason why forest bonus should apply to you reading a wood elf's language, wood elf's behavior. You've Are we gonna keep pushing the friend thing, Rita? Because we asked and they went silent. We're only here for 2 pieces of information, a cure for workers and how to close portals. Yeah. Good to remember. Do the council get along with one another? Or do they stick to their... He scoffs before you finish the question. The council tolerate each other at best. The council are constantly undermining each other, working against each other, manipulating and playing games with each other. They use the lives of mortals as pawns and playthings in 1,000-year-long games. They get along with each other in the sense that they are the only ones that can relate to one another. They get along with one another in the sense of years-long rivals turned friends. Can they be trusted? They can be trusted to act in their own interests and no others. Did this guy give us his name? He said that you can call him Farangol. The waterlogged forest that you're walking through is now fast approaching swamp level, as it's getting much more squelchy and less enjoyable to walk through. Once or twice, just as you're about to ask, do you have a relationship with the count? He's hands up and his bow goes out, draws out an arrow and very quietly draws his string back, fires it off, and you see the arrows pass through a gap between 2 trees, barely big enough for the arrow to fit through, and then falling out from the side of the tree, this huge troll-like creature slashes down into the water. It's like this oil slick-like skin over its body, and then it into the water. You need to keep your wits about you. Nice shot. What was that thing? I don't know what they call it in this plane, but I've referred to them as ambush ogres. It's they can manipulate the size of their body to shrink down behind trees, rocks. They don't ever manipulate their own mass. They get longer and taller, or they get shorter and squatter. But they can rubber band themselves into different shapes to ambush you from swamps and things. They're simple, mindless beings. How long have you been here? He kind of like laughs a little bit and looks up above the canopy to the changeless sky. There's many cycles, but time is relatively meaningless here. Hold for a moment. You look around better, think back to the directions we were to follow to get to the Merry Gentleman. We're just kind of following this stranger into the swamp without cause. Don't do that. Very good point. You think back to the directions you were given to get to the island, to go inland from the island. You've done that so far. To go through the forest towards the mountains. Now that you're in the forest, the swampy area of the forest, you can't really see the mountains. If you want to get a clearing or climb up a tree to see if you're heading in the direction of mountains, you can do so. The swamp was part of the directions. Yep. Empress, can you above the trees and just see what direction it is to the mountains? Of course, Apis. Archer. This is above the tree. You see the guy kind of look towards. Let me give her an intelligence check to see if she did remember. Nope. She did. Apis. Archer. And then she comes back down and says, "It is the direction we are going over here." And she buzzes ahead in that direction. Is that way the fair slightly, let's say, odd? It's no night to give them rest. That is one of the speculations, yes. I don't really get into the history much. It doesn't bother me as much as what the reality of present day is. I don't really care why they are, but what they are. If the Fae were once people like us, one theory is that they were driven mad by the lack of daylight cycles. I'm not sure I ascribe to that. Are you hunting Fae? Yes. Everyone in the Feywild is going to know our name at this point, but at least we're never giving it ourselves. Yeah, that's the important thing. You seem to be going the correct way from our directions. Have you been given the directions as well? I've been to his palace before. If we can tell, he recognised our real name, considering we're speaking Sylvan, which I know is likely with elves. Look at him and say, "You can call me Archer, nothing else." Yeah. You can call me Archer, nothing else. I have no interest in your real name, Apis. As I told you before, I am not a Fae. But I will call you Archer. Just as you will call me Ferengol. Did you bring a gift when you went to visit him before? I didn't visit him. I said I'd been to his palace. I was not a guest. Are you hunting Fae? Like thinking Fae? Perhaps it's time for less questions and more focusing on our surroundings. A creature like that was the least of our troubles out here. Keep your wits about you. What are you feeling about the plane? Sorry, what do you mean? Your current plane of existence, the Feywild, what are you feeling about it? Give me your first thoughts. My thoughts about the place in general. Apis, you are feeling however you're feeling individually as people in the chat, but you're also feeling that the place is brightly coloured. It's enchanting. It's fun. There is an element of fun to this place. It's enticing and makes you want to know more about it. There's an air of curiosity about the plane of existence, and you are longing to know more about the Fae and the Fae people. Gun to your head, you'd probably say that you are having a good time. You're enjoying your time here, regardless of what happened with the fish. You're just kind of left with the base feeling of like, this place is interesting. You want to be here for a little longer to learn more about it. I mean, I'm feeling fishy. It's confusing and odd. It's bright and stressful. It seems dangerously interesting. You get your own bow out and be on guard. Travelling through a forest and natural exploring means we're alert to danger. Yeah. This plane is whimsy itself, with all that brings, good and bad. It's just very something. Beautiful but frightening. Feels strange, like a vivid dream of our own world somehow. Without all the deception and trickery, I might go so far as to say it's fun. He turns and stops in his tracks at that and turns to you, and he gets closer than you'd probably like for a stranger, and says, "This place is not fun. This place makes you think it's fun." From how you're talking about it, you haven't succumbed to it yet, but the longer you spend here, the longer you want to spend here. You must keep fighting it. You will not return home. Oh. Well, okay. Thank you for that. He stares at you, unsmiling. And then he turns and continues. How did you not succumb to its charm? I held on to a powerful emotion. He fires off another arrow into the forest. You're not sure what it hits, but you definitely hear it. And then as something runs off into the forest, into the swamp. The earworms and the brainfish aren't what I would call fun. And he says, I've not had the joy of being in a brainfish yet, but no, it doesn't look like a fun experience. Earworms, they are relatively harmless. They tend to leave you alone if you leave them alone. But they sure can be a time sink. You could lose days to an earworm. He's not getting charmed because he's mad as fuck. Maybe. Not a pleasant emotion that I take it though. Does that make a difference? Negative versus positive emotions to hold off the effects of this place? He just nods. And he's slowed down and he's starting to sniff something and he's doing his ranger thing. He's plucking leaves and making sure that he knows the way he's going and, more to the point, what's been through here recently, that sort of stuff. Is there anything we can do to prevent being charmed? It's up for you to find out, I'm afraid. It's down to the individual's mind, their capabilities of staving off outside influence. Find something to hold on to, something that is you, something that is only you. Can we check to see if anything else is moving or lurking? Sure can. That is a 17. 17 plus your first bonus perception check. Actually, technically you're in a swamp, not a forest. So you don't get a forest bonus. You have a perception check of 5 at this level. So 22. With a 22, you do not have swamp bonus because you haven't taken swamp as a ranger. Swamp is a soggy forest, damn it. Swamp is a different terrain that you can choose from the terrain list when you are choosing your favoured terrain as a ranger. With the 22 though, you're doing a good job of walking along and finding things, and to cut a long story short, I'm not going to go into individual combats that aren't an issue for you. I'm going to summarise it essentially as we go. So when it comes to that time, I will summarise your combat, knowing that you had a 22 perception as you walked. So, what is it you want to say, ask, do while you walk before I summarise the rest of your journey through the swamps? Would focusing on the people I care about back home help me resist the charm? It's worth a try. There were some bad things starting to show up in the material plane near our homes. Blights and demons and such. Did you see anything like that as well? Not here. The negative effects of undead and necromantic creatures such as blights. They do not pervade this realm. One of the one things you can say about it is that it prevents negative energy. It cannot survive here, like a mushroom in the sun. The darkness will wilt and wither. There is no despair in this plane. Do Fae have any major weaknesses that I should know about? None that are universal to them all. But being unable to be succumbed to their charm leaves them with a great deficit. Many of them rely on charming those of our plane to survive. Did we ask where he came from on the material plane? No. Where did you come from on the material plane? I've travelled a great many places. It doesn't matter. I'm going to make a persuasion check, just see if you can get any more than that from him on that particular topic. Dice cam, that was a 3. 3 plus your persuasion of 1. You're not the most charismatic or persuasive person, so a 4. He doesn't seem willing to talk about his where he came from. He kind of dismissed it out of hand. Were you a prisoner here? No. No, I was not a prisoner. They don't tend to do prisons in that same way. They tend to sort their problems by trial. Do you know if the Merry Gentleman has weaknesses? If he does, I'm yet to find them. Not weaknesses you can exploit easily in a fight, anyway. He has weaknesses like all Archfey have weaknesses. His hubris, his need to be smart, his need to win. Are you looking for his weaknesses? It wouldn't do to talk openly about those things in his realm. But he doesn't say no. Does the no shadow, no darkness, no despair thing apply to the other side of the planet as well, where the sun doesn't shine? Yes. Even in the night section here, there is joy and levity and fun. This place is merriment. The night is full of what they would want you to believe is joy. There are dangers, great dangers, and death exists here. Just not the feelings of hopelessness or despair. So you said the Fae have trials. Sounds like it'd be more tricky than simple conversations. Trials allow for them to wipe their hands of any responsibility. No Necro Council sending demons to our place. That's good, I guess. Seems like it. Tick that one off of your list. Did we ask what his intentions towards the Merry Gentleman are yet? You have asked, and he has been very couchy and unwilling to talk about that openly, especially in the Merry Gentleman's realm. But he has made it very clear through his body language and what he hasn't said that he is not a fan of the Merry Gentleman. At least we haven't had to journey to where the sun doesn't shine. He sort of half chuckles in spite of himself at that. Well, no shadow beings here. That's one less thing we have to worry about. Just have to trade that for being cagey with basically everything else. Joking to detract the worry and the weariness of it, yeah. Alright, so as you talk then, I'm getting the impression that there's nothing else of worth or noteworthiness that you wish to bring up with him or get from him. So we're going to summarise the rest of the journey through your swamp. He is leading the way, so there's very little chance of getting lost. Also, because you are both rangers, there is no chance of you getting lost. You are both rangers, and so as such, you are going to roll a survival check. I'll have you roll with advantage to summarise the journey for both of you, and it's a relatively low DC. So let's see what we got. You have a +5 survival, so that is a 16 or a 2. 16 plus 5 is 21. With a 21. It is only going to take you... Where is it? It's only going to take you 2d10 of hit points through fighting various different little skirmishes here and there. You're going to use 2d10 of hit points worth of damage to yourself as you are getting into small skirmishes. Oh, 2 8s though. 16 points of damage off of 54. Takes you down to 38. You're also going to lose some of your arrows. You've used your regular arrows, but you're going to lose some fire arrows. I'm just going to use a D3 of them. Where's my D3? 2. You lose 2 of your fire arrows in the fight. You can remake those as well. For those who don't know, they're not like magical fire arrows. They are just arrows that have been pre-prepared to have tar on them from one of your torches. So during a short rest, you can sit down and scrape some of this tar from the torch and put it onto your arrowheads, so that if there is a flame, an open flame, you can dip your arrowhead in and set it on fire before shooting it. So they're not hard to come by. But you have used a couple of them as you've been journeying. You've used some hit dice, you've used some of that, and I'm going to roll to see. You did pretty well with a 21. I'm going to roll with a percentile check. I'm going to give it a chance that you have not used any magic while you've been journeying as well. So I'm going to give it a 10% chance that you used a level 2 spell. That is a 39, so you did not use any level 2 spells. And then I'm going to give it a 30% chance that you used a first level spell. 35, very close, but you did not. You came close to using a spell, but you did not have to use a spell. Between you and Ferengal, you managed to badass your way through a bunch of these different swamp monsters. Most of them bestial in nature. None of them seemed to be that sentient. A couple of trolls. One thing that came up that looked like an ooze, like a sludgy kind of ooze. You saw Ferengal shoot an arrow at it, and as it hit, it seems to electrify the entire thing and stop it from like using its ooze-like nature. It kind of sucked it into one more solid thing that you could then pepper with your planar arrows and such. You probably used planar warrior during that fight, so give me a thumbs up and thumbs down during the various fights of the swamp as you went. Did you try to avoid giving out any information or any indication that you were a Horizon Walker, planar warrior, had any sort of abilities like that? Because as soon as you, as I've described before, as soon as you use planar warrior, the arrow disappears into the ethereal plane and then reappears in the material plane doing more damage. So would you have tried to avoid using those things? Alright, yes, try to avoid using them. Okay. So in that case, I will retcon then and say that the 35% chance was enough to use one more spell slot. So in lieu of using Planar Warrior, you used something like Hunter's Mark instead. So you used a spell slot in order to not give away the fact that you're a Planar Warrior, and then you made it through the swamp. With Ferengal in tow, you make it to the edge of the foothills of a mountain. The swamp starts to get drier, it starts to get more forested again. One of the things you've noticed, even without a check here, just on the nature of you being a ranger, is that the delineations between the ocean and the coast and the swamp and the foothills and the mountains, everything seems to be narrower. Everything seems to be sooner, more expedient. Like that, it's not like a line you cross over and suddenly it's like Minecraft and you're like, oh, now I'm in a different terrain. But it is kind of it's a lot quicker and easier to get from one terrain to another. You are now standing in the foothills of the mountains, however, and looking up the mountains. You've walked for a little while with Ferengal, and he has been trying to explain that through this mountain range there is a valley, a forested valley, and on the other side of that, or in the middle of that valley, that's where you'll find the Lord of Avalon's house, his palace, one of his houses. It's not long, though, before the ground starts to rumble beneath your feet, just slightly, just like a very deep earthquake. Doesn't overbalance you or anything close to that, but just enough that you can feel it as a ranger, feeling it kind of rumbling. And Ferengal stops when he feels that, and he kneels down and touches the ground. And he says, "We're almost there." And you think, almost there? We're only just raising the foothills of this mountain range, where we're not even close to actually getting through the valley of this mountain between these two peaks that you're clearly aiming towards. How can you tell? They're speaking to us, but I can't understand it yet. As soon as we're able to understand it, we will be close enough. We should try and listen out for it and understand it as soon as possible. It gives us more chance, more time. I have no idea what you're talking about. Who's they? Who's speaking to us? The guardians of the mountains. Oh shit! What is it? What are we looking at? And he points up towards the mountain peaks ahead of you, the two mountain peaks that you're looking at on either side of the valley that you need to pass through. It says those two. The mountains? Yes, the mountains themselves, they are guardians of this pass. You need to prove yourself to pass through them. Ooh, what does that look like? You feel this rumbling again beneath you, and you feel like the ultrasonic vibrations of it are moving up the bones of your legs and into your hips,
You keep moving forwards and the rumbling continues louder until eventually you can feel the vibrations up inside of your body, your rib cage. And then once you've moved a little further, following Ferengal, you can feel these vibrations up in your collarbone and your shoulders. You mirroring him, you reach down and touch the ground, and as soon as you do, this ultrasonic vibrations, like elephants communicating over long distances through the rumblings of the ground, it heads up your arm and into your head, and as soon as it hits your cranium, you start to interpret them as sounds. Just 3 words. Rumble to mind. What are you? And that's where we're going to pick up next time. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. And I'll see you next year. Bye. We had fun here today. But you know what else is fun? Liking and subscribing. Thanks.